when you start to study geopolitics and globalization, you start to understand why Africa is very stagnant. So this gentleman that you see is Ibrahim Traore. He's a president of Burkina Faso who came to power via coup. And so the Americans were not very happy. And so they decided to dispatch someone to go do that to him. And basically the whole African continent just went mad. They decided to start marching around the world, protesting against the Americans. They don't want anything to do with them because a lot of Africans were taught before that all they need is investors to come in their country. And, a lot of these people come in the name of globalization, and yet, there is no much change in Africa. What you see is the continent being destabilized and all. But following this guy's reign, they've seen a lot of change where his country obviously producing electric cars and gold bars and a lot of other things. And a lot of them are starting to have a lot of hope. And so basically, when you start to look at numbers, GDP per capita, for example, Africa is the most wealthiest continent in the world, and yet the poorest. DRC Congo is the richest country in the world, and yet the poorest. And so these numbers don't really add up. GDP per capita in most African countries is less than $1,000, whereas if you look at countries like New Zealand, Australia, the United Kingdom, and America, these countries have numbers that are in the 50,000, 60,000, and yet they don't have much resources as the continent of Africa. So there is a lot of looting that's going on. So people are starting to wake up. They're like, oh, well, we've been exploited so much and we really can't stand this anymore. And as a result, you start seeing all these protests going on around the world. So Ibrahim Traore is an amazing leader. I really appreciate what he's actually doing.